So, let me ask you something. We all make plans, right? Plans for the weekend, for our careers, for retirement. But what's your plan for the thing you can't plan for? You know, that total curveball that life throws when you least expect it?
Well, for a whole lot of us, that plan is a safety net. It's called insurance. And I get it. You hear that word and you probably think, oh boy, this is going to be complicated, confusing, full of tiny little print. But what if I told you it's actually way simpler than it looks? That's exactly what we're going to do today. We are going to demystify your insurance policy and turn that big, dense document into your own personal rulebook for financial protection. Okay, ready? Here's the game plan. First, we'll tackle the big idea behind insurance itself. Then we'll get into the core principles that make the whole thing work. After that, we'll see two different policies in action, fire versus health. And then, yes, we are going to decode that dreaded fine print. And finally, we'll walk you through the claim journey step by step. So, let's kick things off with part one, the big idea. Seriously, try to think of your policy less like a stuffy legal document and more like a simple rulebook. It's the rules you and your insurer agree on for how to handle risk.
The official definition, like this one from India's Insurance Act of 1938, calls it a contract of insurance against loss. And really, at its heart, that is all it is. It's a promise. You pay a small, regular amount, that's your premium, and in return, the insurance company promises to cover these specific, potentially huge losses. It's basically a way of spreading out the risk so no single person has to bear it alone.
So how does that promise actually work in practice? Well, every single insurance contract, I don't care if it's for a car or a spaceship, is built on a few key universal rules. These are the core principles. Now, there are a bunch of these, but to really get how your policy works, we're just going to zoom in on two that are absolutely crucial. First up is utmost good faith. This one's a biggie. It's the foundation of the whole relationship. It just means you and the insurer have to be totally honest with each other about every important detail. You have to tell them everything that might affect their decision, and they have to be crystal clear about what your policy actually covers. You know, a perfect way to think about this is like a doctor-patient relationship, right? If you don't tell your doctor all your symptoms, how can they possibly give you the right diagnosis? It's the exact same principle. Total honesty from both sides is what makes the contract work. Okay, the second key principle is indemnity, and this one's super simple. Insurance is here to make you whole again, not to make you rich. So if your 5-year-old car that's worth $10,000 gets totaled, indemnity means you get $10,000, not the price of a brand new car. The goal is always to restore you to where you were, not for you to profit from a loss. All right, so we've got the rules of the game. Now let's see how they actually play out in the real world. In this next section, we're going to put policies in action, comparing how we protect our property versus how we protect ourselves. We usually think of insurance for our things, our houses, our cars, but a huge part of this world is focused on something that is way, way more valuable, our health and our well-being. And you can see the difference so clearly right here. A fire policy, that covers your physical stuff, your assets, against things like fire or floods. But a health policy, that covers you for medical expenses from an illness or an accident. See, one protects your things, the other protects you. Okay, this brings us to the part that makes everyone nervous, the fine print. But listen, it's not there to trick you. It's all about making sure everyone is on the same page. So Section 4 is all about decoding the exclusions you absolutely have to know about. An exclusion is just a situation the policy won't cover. Some are pretty obvious, right? Like damage from a war, or if you intentionally cause the damage yourself. But others can really catch you by surprise. For instance, a standard fire policy often won't cover theft that happens during or after the fire. And with health insurance, there are almost always waiting periods for pre-existing conditions, sometimes up to 36 months. That's 3 years. Knowing this stuff isn't about being scared, it's about being smart. And all of this leads us to the moment of truth, our final section, the claim journey. When that unexpected thing actually happens, this is the process that turns that promise in your policy into an actual payout. So let's use a fire claim as our example. First, you have to give notice immediately. The policy language often uses this old-timey word forthwith, which basically just means do it now. Then you submit your detailed claim in writing. The insurance company will send out a surveyor to check out the damage, and you have to cooperate completely with them. And finally, based on that surveyor's report, the claim gets settled.
And please pay very close attention to this number. For a lot of fire policies, you have just 15 days from the date of the disaster to get that written claim in. Sometimes you can get an extension, but this deadline is absolutely critical.
Miss it, and you could put your entire claim in jeopardy. So there you have it. From big ideas like indemnity to tiny but crucial details like that 15-day window, you now have the tools to read your own policy with brand new eyes. Which leaves us with just one last question. Now that you know the rules of the game, are you playing with the right protection?